Hey, what's up, y'all? This is former NASCAR driver Bill Lester.
Bob Cockers.
I'm NASCAR driver Natalie Decker.
NASCAR's Chief Hype Officer Mamba Smith.
And you're listening to Victory Lane.
Victory Lane.
Victory Lane.
Victory Lane Vibe.
Let's go.
376, Antron Brown is the Top Fuel champion.
Just praying for it. There it is. Raja Caruth wins it at Las Vegas. First career win, gets it done.
You stayed in the game, and it was just one step, one punch, one round at a time, and my guys had me a great stop, and we just executed. So there's more to come for sure.
His final time through 3 and 4. He's gonna do it. Bubba Wallace wins at Kansas.
What they gonna say now, baby? Let's go!
He is the man who raises the bar, who raises the stats, who takes things to stratospheric levels, and he's only got 3 corners now. He can see the crowd standing and giving him that round of applause. 8 times we've said it before. Here's a 9th for you. Lewis Hamilton wins the British Grand Prix. What a victory! Hamilton is back.
For the Twitter.
That's your job. Son of a bitch.
Oh, and we're on the air, and that's the
sweet. All right, now real great.
All good. Oh, you're good. Yeah, that's your one job.
Fucking son of a bitch.
Carl.
Hey, man.
Easy.
Good Lord.
Kiss your mother with that mouth. My Lord.
What?
Don't tempt him.
Goodness.
What are you talking about?
You cussing up a storm. That's what.
The lights on.
I didn't realize that was. Oh yeah. Well, hey.
Should I be in here as me or be in here as? Oh, this is cool. It's actually like really like. Ooh.
What?
Let me see what it looks like on the thing.
I'm not touching anything, so I don't.
It's live for real, like video, audio, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, nice.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I see it in here too. Ooh, way low.
We really can't. You really can't take us no place.
No. I swear.
It's fancy.
Everybody's looking around. Oh,
hey, man.
I love Carl acting like it wasn't his idea.
I just. Well, no, it's fine. I just didn't think it was gonna be this seamless.
Well, I mean, we paid for this. I would hope so.
I mean, well, yeah, but I didn't know. All right, well, it says we got like 10 people watching, so.
Hello. We appreciate y'all.
Hold on, I gotta.
We'll give it like. What you want to wait? Like 2-3 minutes?
Yeah, we'll let it.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. That's cool.
I went and got my.
Good
glasses.
evening, everyone.
Got stuff on them.
Yeah, moderate.
We're gonna let the seats fill, and then we'll get started. I'm here to be just my pretty face, and then I'm gonna go quiet. But if you don't know who we are, I'm Jared. There's Art. There's Carl. There's Jer.
Hello.
This also will be played back. You'll be able to find this episode and added to our streaming services here probably tomorrow. So you listen to back after all this greatness that we bestow upon you.
Is Carl gonna edit it, right?
No, I am not.
That's what I heard. That's what the memo said.
Well, I'll tell you what, we recorded it live.
Nose goes.
Yeah, well, that's fine. We recorded it live. It's going up the way it was presented.
So, that's fair.
Yeah.
You say that now. We haven't turned it off yet.
Well,
look, we've had a few. Well, never mind. We've had a few.
Yeah, nope, leave it alone.
We had to edit. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, pay me to care.
Pay me to care.
Pay me to care. So
this was your idea. That's the crazy.
This man has been a cup for 10 years. I didn't realize this.
What?
Nothing. Just like the way that added ammunition for you is just insane.
I mean, you said it. You know, Go ahead. Say what you want to say.
Hey, no, we're fine. We're good. We're good to go.
Oh, no. Well, leave him there.
Oh, that's not nice.
Yes, it is.
Well.
couple more minutes, guys. We'll dive into it at 8:35.
Damn, 32, son of a bitch.
Some snacks or
Are you not?
Powerade.
What do you mean?
Oh my goodness. You're cursing like every other section.
This is no different than what we said last night.
I just don't want you to. I'd like you to not be completely blue.
Does Twitter, I guess it's going on Spotify. I was gonna say, like, does Twitter care about cursing? But
I don't care about Nazis, so surely they don't care about us cursing.
Fair point.
I'll debate you a lot of things in the next 45 minutes, but not that.
Fair.
You got that.
Yeah. Jarrett, tell us what you're putting on your sandwich when you leave us to go make the sandwich.
Put them on blast.
It's a really boring sandwich, honestly. Just some wheat bread with some mayonnaise, some pickles, some turkey breasts, and maybe a slice of American cheese.
You got to give it that ruffled.
Maybe some ketchup for some razzle dazzle.
Look, add some pepper on it, give it some spice, man.
That ruffle.
Everything bagel seasoning has changed my life. Everything bagel seasoning goes on everything but the bagels, dog.
Okay. All right. My joke got lost.
Talking about a sandwich.
My joke got lost. It's fine. It's whatever.
Right. What'd you say?
I said you got to give it that ruffle too. Put some chips on that thing.
Oh, this is interesting. We can see the comments from the Twitter space.
I thought so.
Right now, it's popping in the chat, but I can't respond on StreamYard. I guess I have to take control of Twitter.
I told you got to go to work, bro.
This blankety blank.
That's right. All right, that's right. It's 8:35. We good. We good. Let's go. Let's go.
All right.
Welcome to a special episode of Victory Lane Vibes. We are your hostesses with the mostesses. My name is Jared. I have my co-hosts Jer, Art, and Carl, who has gone off camera. And welcome to the great debate of the 48. If you paid attention to our timeline the last couple of days, apparently we don't know what we're talking about. So we're coming to fight for Alex Bowman's seat. And here's some rebuttals against why he's maybe predestined to lose it. No ballast required. So with that, just a quick shout out. Want to thank our sponsors at Home Field and Nectar Sunglasses. Make sure you use our promo codes respectively. VLV24 for Home Field, Victory Lane Vibes for Nectar. Save 15% off your collegiate apparel. Save 15% off your sunnies. And without further ado, I introduce your moderator for this evening, Jer.
Hello. Welcome to this very special live debate episode of Victory Lane Vibes. My name is Jer. I'm your moderator tonight. We will be diving into the very spicy topic of whether or not Alex Bowman will continue on with Hendrick Motorsports for the 2026 season. You can't start already, Carl. As you know, rumors and conversation have been swirling for months now about whether or not Bowman will continue to pilot the number 48 car or whether it's time to bring in a new driver to secure the team's long-term success. So in order to make tonight's debate as fair and unbiased as possible, we did have ChatGPT assist in generating the debate questions just to make sure that they're completely random and, like we said, without bias, mostly so that Carl didn't throw himself like an easy one. But we are here to focus solely on Alex Bowman's career performance up to this point and whether or not that justifies a contract renewal. So the only things we're evaluating tonight are performance, consistency, and value to the team. So before we get started, I do want to review the rules. There will be 8 questions and topics in tonight's debate, and you guys will each have 90 seconds to respond. Don't start your response until I turn my screen and show you that I'm starting. But after both parties have responded, we will then open for a rebuttal, and each of you will have 2 30-second rebuttals available to you tonight to use at your discretion, but they cannot be used to rebut a rebuttal. So only one. Once we're done, then for those of you watching on Twitter, we will have a poll up where you guys will get to vote on who you think wins tonight. So Art, Carl, any questions before we do the coin flip and get started?
Do we get to have do we get an opening statement? Because I have an opening statement prepared.
Sure. Let's do 45-second opening statement. Is that's
fine? It's gonna be quick. Yes.
Yeah, you go first. I have to put this. Know what to say. Okay.
Hang on. Let me get my timer up. I have timer for 1:30 and 30 seconds, but not for 45 seconds.
That's fine. I won't need the whole time. It's fine. Okay. I have to put this. It's an opening statement / disclaimer. So whenever you're ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, so I just want to start by saying, for the record, I do not hate Alex Bowman because I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people commenting saying, "Oh, you hate him." I actually really like Alex Bowman. I kind of don't want to be in this stance ragging on him for the next 40 minutes. I think he's a Cup Series quality driver. I just don't think he's a HMS 48 quality driver. But I like his personality. I love the stuff he does with the pets. I want him to stay in the Cup Series, but understand, because some of you are going to be in here saying he doesn't deserve to be a spot, and I'm just a hater. Not just a hater. I just don't think he needs to be where he currently is. So it's all love, Alex. If you somehow see this, I love you.
All right. That's the noise you'll hear.
Okay.
All right, cool. Carl.
Genie in here?
Ready?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, I don't have anything really to add to it as far as an opening statement. I will say that I am an Alex Bowman fan, and I have defended him against the other two hosts several times. And last week is what brought us to this point, because I was like, I'm not about to get my feet put to the fire for somebody else's negligence, but I am operating purely off of facts and not off of feelings. So there's that. I'm not putting anything else in there. So yeah, that's my opening statement.
All right. Cool. So we'll do the coin flip. Art, if it's heads, you go first. Carl, if it's tails, you go first. Hey Siri. Flip a coin for me. Okay, it's heads. So Art, you will go first with this first question.
Can I pick? I wanted to go second.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No.
Okay, you want to go second?
Yes, I want to go second. Let him go first.
Okay.
For all of them.
Great, Carl.
Man, all right.
All right, so this first question is about consistency and top finishes.
Mm-hmm.
So with 8 career wins and 64 top 10 finishes, has Bowman shown enough consistency and performance to warrant a long-term contract, or do his stats suggest a fluctuating form that might concern team sponsors? You have 90 seconds to respond, starting now.
So I feel like Alex Bowman is pretty consistently in the conversation, at least since his time at HMS. And for what it's worth, I think he has more than 64 top 10s. I think that maybe when we asked that question, it was skewed towards his time in Hendrick. Regardless, I think Alex suffers a lot of the same thing as one of the pod's favorite drivers, out Bubba Wallace, right? Which is where all the factors are there. The execution sometimes is not great. But I mean, it's not uncommon to see him having a good day and that day goes south pretty quickly. I would have to look and see what the loop data and the percentages are and the DNFs, but I feel like more often than not, he's one of the cars that's in trouble. So that contributes to that. So yeah, I mean, I feel like from a consistency standpoint, I think that if things can go right for him, I don't see why he shouldn't be in the conversation to be in the 40. I don't see why we can't, why you wouldn't think that his performance and his consistency could live up to what's needed to be in that ride. And as far as bringing somebody else in, I mean, I don't think it would be an improvement overnight because there's always teething troubles when you have a new driver team pairing. So I don't know that a new driver would fix that problem. I think that, I think that Alex is doing a great job.
All right.
It's so loud.
I love that sound. I spent a long time scrolling through to pick the right one, so I hope you guys enjoy this. All right, Art, you ready with your response?
Yeah, I am.
Starting now.
So I think the question really has to be asked is, one, who's the best organization in the garage? And I think week in and week out, it's shown to be HMS. So the question really isn't so much about Alex, but is what are your expectations for that seat? I feel that in a sport like NASCAR, it's shown that if you have better equipment, you should be expected to perform better and be held to a higher standard. Across Alex's time as a full-time HMS driver, he averages 1 win, 5 top 5s, and 13 top 10s. That's to me just not good enough. His average finish is 15.78, which again to me is not good enough to warrant him being a long-term solution. And Carl mentions the improvement overnight. I agree that if you brought in someone younger, that yeah, they may not come in and immediately be amazing, but I think you have to start searching for someone that has a higher ceiling. I do think that if you took about half of the drivers in the garage and gave them HMS's resources, their pit crews, their data, their engine shop, they could average 1 win a year. So that's why I just feel like, given what we've seen out of him, he's just not being able to perform up to the expectations for that car.
All right. Carl, do you have a rebuttal?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I think that's a fair point.
All right. So this next question, Art, you will answer first. This one is regarding recent form. So after going 80 races without a win, Bowman broke that streak with a victory in 2024. Is this recent win enough to suggest that he is on an upward trajectory, or does the long winless period raise doubts about his future potential? So you will have 90 seconds to respond, starting now.
Yeah, I think, the win, while that is amazing for him and for that team, if you look at it since then, he's had 4 top 10s and 6 finishes that are 19th or worse. So to me, he's really just been regressing to the mean, if anything, since then. In fact, before that win, he had 9 top 10s. So if anything, they got complacent once they knew they had a playoff spot locked up. So I just have not seen the consistent level of performance out of him this year. The win I'll talk about later on. And you know what? He won that. He earned it for whatever reason, circumstance. But given the system that NASCAR's in, I just don't think you can sit there and say that having 1 win in almost 3 years warrants you staying, again, in a top tier ride. I think the 4th HMS car is still probably the 12th best car in the garage at worst. And so for you to go almost 3 years without a win, that's just not good enough for me.
All right. So, Carl, you have 90 seconds for your response, starting now.
I think that for one, I think the 80 race winless streak is kind of a skewed stat a little bit, right? You've got 2 injuries in that time period. Essentially been in the next gen car. Since between his last 2 wins in the next gen, right? So Vegas of 22 and now. So that kind of skews it a bit. In Art mentioned he's had some finishes of I guess 6th and 19th or worse since then. But again, I mean, I feel like this team has been building all year, and I feel like I don't have the stats in front of me. I wasn't told that we would be fact checked on this or anything, but I feel like again, from just recent performances and even in the playoffs, I feel like again the performance has been there. I think some other elements certainly haven't been. But I would look at this year's body of work as a whole and say that, absolutely. I think this reassures of an upward trajectory, and I think a year of things to come. I feel like the 48 team has struggled a bit more with this new car than the other 3 Hendrick cars. And that's saying a lot considering that Hendrick has been kind of the dominant force with this car, despite going 0 for 3 on titles so far. Or 0 for 2, I guess, on title so far. But I feel that Alex is on an upward trajectory, and I don't think that the most recent stretch of races is really indicative of this entire year.
All right, Art, do you have a rebuttal?
I'll save it.
All right. So, Carl, you'll be answering first for this next one. It's about value as a driver.
Right.
Bowman has been with Hendrick Motorsports since 2018 and currently drives the iconic number 48 car. Mm-hmm. How much value does his experience with the premier team in handling of a historically significant car bring to the table in negotiating a new contract? You have 90 seconds starting now.
I don't know if this is necessarily a marketing question, although I do feel like, him and Ally are a really good fit. It's hard pressed, right? Because you've got 3, I guess, historic numbers at Hendrick, right, with the 5, the 24, and the 48. And I feel like William Byron is doing the 24 a lot of justice. I feel like Kyle Larson obviously doing the 5 a lot of justice. But I mean, as far as being an historic car, I mean that bar is impossibly high to reach by any any standard. I mean, so is Jeff Gordon's, right? So, I mean, I feel like the only comparison you can make in that regard is Terry Labonte in the 5 and Kyle Larson in the 5. What I will say is that from a being able to be recognized standpoint, absolutely. I feel like he is synonymous with the 48. I feel like a lot of people have accepted that. He's made that his own. They're their own brand with Ally. It's been a great pairing. And I think that he has a very loyal segment of fans that, I think it all gels very well. I think it's a great fit. Sometimes you look at a guy, you look at an organization, and you go like, yeah, they belong there, right? You think of Kyle Busch and the 18. You think of Tony Stewart in the 20. I mean, sometimes guys are just really good fits for that situation, and I feel like he is in that role. I think we can't really rely on the 48's past to make that determination. So, yeah, I think that he's good for it.
Excellent timing. All right, Art, and go.
So I agree with Carl on this point. I think it's ridiculously huge shoes for him to try to fill, but by the same token, I think you look at Willie B, and he had maybe an even more iconic driver within the building, right? I think just because of Jeff Gordon's performance helping build HMS, he had, in my opinion, bigger shoes to fill. And if there's one thing that HMS cares about, it's winning, and it's about these big moments. You always see Lord knows they get plenty of camera time whenever they have a big moment they want to celebrate. And Willie B's gone out and won a Daytona 500, right? Alex, for all of his, abilities in the car, we don't see those big moments out of him. I don't see any Alex Bowman billboards or ads online, but when I was on Racing Reference this afternoon, I saw a Willie B ad. When I look at TV commercials, I see Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott. I don't see Bowman commercials. I see Dale Jr. commercials that feature Bowman. So I just don't think that he's had the cachet that he can bring that and use that as a leverage point in a negotiation to try to market that to a bigger deal. I think he's been an average driver at best in that car, but I mean, he's much closer to Casey Kane than he was a Dale Jr. in terms of impact in that car. And Casey Kane was a good driver, but there aren't pictures of him all over the halls of HMS. And I think Alex, unfortunately, will be along those lines.
All right. Carl, do you have a rebuttal?
Yeah, a little bit of one. I think it's.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I knew as soon as I said Casey Kane, he'd have one.
I mean, and for what it's worth, I mean, Casey Kane, I think is almost as synonymous with his time in the 5 as the 9. But what I was going to say is, for what it's worth, I mean, outside of Kyle Larson, none of the other Hendrick drivers have. I think like that. There's not a lot of marquee wins amongst them. I think the 500 is kind of a red herring, if you will. I don't think that's a fair comparison.
All right. Well, on to question number 4. Competitiveness across tracks. Alex has shown proficiency on road courses and large ovals with a recent win at the Chicago Street Course. Should his adaptability to different track types be seen as a crucial asset for the team's future success, or are there specific track types where his performance still lags? I believe, Art, you're starting this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And go ahead.
So I will give Alex this, winning the street course was a good accomplishment, but the majority of his success has been on 1.5 miles. But if you look at it since we've gone to the next gen with the best 1.5 miles, he really hasn't performed that well outside of that Vegas one that Carl mentioned earlier. And, by that same token, the 24 with William Byron's been full-time just as long, and he's gotten multiple road course wins, multiple 1.5 mile wins, super speedway wins at Daytona, New Atlanta, and short track wins. And, for Alex, he's the only person in that shop who hasn't won either a title or a crown jewel race during his time there. So I just think you can make the argument that his the current car that he's now in, it seems like he's really had a struggle, and that car is not going anywhere. And this one thing NASCAR has shown us is that they're not going to make changes to it. And I just think about his average finish. Going back the last couple of years, it's 16th, 15th, 13th, 11th. I look at William Byron. He's averaged all the way up to first last year. So there's one driver that's gotten better over the years where he's gotten worse. And so when you're finishing behind Austin Dillon and Austin Cindric in terms of average finish, and you're in an HMS car, you're probably not up to snuff. So.
All right. And Carl, you can go ahead and now.
Yeah, so I mean, I think for one thing, right, the Chicago road course performance, I think overall, especially with who he had to hold off for that, I think is a very strong line that the ability is there. Maybe the execution hasn't been, maybe they have not found the sweet spot in a lot of places, but I mean, he has won at everywhere but a plate track, if I'm not mistaken, and over his career at Hendrick Motorsports. He's won at a short track, he's won at a road course, he's won at a 1.5 miles, right? And I mean, and he sat on the pole at, not that it matters at plate track. So the performance of the team in there and the car is there. I don't know what William Byron has to do with a lot of this conversation, but what I will say is, they know how to win at these places. And I feel like Alex knows how to drive at these places well. So while I can't say right now that I would guarantee him as a lock for any particular track type, I can't look at a track and say, like, Alex is going to run great there. What I can say is that they have the ability to run great there, and it's not out of the question. When you have drivers like Austin Dillon, for example, they're pigeonholed to one track type, like to a plate track or anything like that. I think Alex, if you told me Alex wanted any track and I missed a race, I'd believe it without question. So the ability is there, the results aren't.
All right.
I want a rebuttal.
You want a rebuttal? All right.
How much do I have?
30 seconds. This is your you each will have used one rebuttal then.
Okay.
Cool. All right. Ready and go.
So the reason I want to rebut is just because of one point Carl brought up William Byron. The reason I bring up Byron is because they both became full-time drivers the same year. And I feel that Byron has been ascending throughout his time at HMS, where Alex has a good season every 3 years. Byron beats him in literally every statistic and has had better points finish, more wins, more top five. So I look at a driver that's getting better over time versus a driver that seems to be inconsistent at best. So that's why.
All right. So now we are going into lap leadership and race strategy for question number 5. So with over 1,300 laps led in his career, has Bowman demonstrated strong enough racecraft and leadership at the front of the field to justify a new contract, or do his numbers indicate that he struggles to maintain top positions? So what are we at? Carl, you're going first?
Yeah, that'd be me.
All right, ready and go.
Yeah, so when you think about this question, right, we just came off of a race. The last 2 out of 3 races, have been, or last 3 out of 3 really even, have been Kyle Larson heavy, right? And we're used to that performance out of the Hendrick guys, especially in this era, especially the 5 and the 24. But look, if you're any sort of historian in the sport, you know that Hendrick has always struggled with the 4th team. Whether it be Dale Earnhardt Jr., whether it be Casey Kane, even lesser knowns like Casey Mears, there's just always been a bit of a missing element there. I will say that, again, I keep going back to this because it's so frustrating. The ability is there. Throughout Dale Jr.'s time in the 88, right, I don't know that I could pinpoint any point in time where I would think he would be a multiple lap leader and a guy that run up front and wins races. I know Alex gets a lot of scrap for backing into wins, but you have to be running really good and in position to do that. It's not like he just has gotten lucky on fuel or tire strategy every time, or he was running 17th before a caution came out and everybody died, right? He's been right there. So again, you're talking theoreticals here, right, versus numbers. And yeah, the numbers certainly tell one story, but as I've said before, the numbers don't tell the whole story. So that's really the best way that I can put that.
All right. Art, your time begins now.
Yeah, do think the laps led is a great statistic, and that's one you can hang your hat on. I think there was one year he led over 400 laps in a season, so those are great achievements. But at the end of the day, in modern day NASCAR, leading laps only matters if you lead the last one. So those are kind of empty calories for me. You know, I think I keep mentioning the 24. I think he's led 700 more laps in their head-to-head season. So in terms of leadership, you know, everything I've seen about Alex off track, he seems like he's a wonderful person. Like, I would love for him to be my neighbor. I'd love for him to be my friend, but I've never heard a crew chief, pit guy, head person at HMS talk about his leadership on the team. Now, that doesn't mean necessarily it's not there, but no one's brought it up. And if no one brings up your leadership in my memory in 8 years, that's probably a sign that it's not, to me at least, where it needs to be. That's just not good enough. And I don't think that's his personality. And you know what? I'm not going to knock him for that. Maybe he's an introvert guy. He's not a rah rally the troops person, but it seems that there's plenty of times where they just need a big finish to get it done, and he hasn't been able to deliver it. So I don't know. I don't see it. We just saw Tyler Reddick drive up through the field. Now, I know he's Tyler Reddick last weekend, but to me, that's an example of on-track leadership. That's a guy getting it done and putting the cape on, and I don't have many memories of Alex doing that in his time at the 48.
All right. Carl, do you have a rebuttal?
No, I don't.
All right. So this one is question number 6. This is performance and pressure situations. Bowman's best season came in 2021 with 4 race wins. Can Hendrick Motorsports rely on him to deliver under pressure in future championship races, or is his inability to replicate this form in subsequent seasons a red flag? So, Art, you will be starting, and your time begins now.
So the funny thing about Alex is that if you look at his career, his wins have gotten less impressive to me as they've gone on. So his first win at Chicagoland, goes out, gets caught by Larson, comes back to win it. Super impressive. Fontana leads over 100 laps. Amazing. Great. You go to Richmond, he was in 3rd place, you know, way back, got a late caution, passes Denny, takes it late. Great. Get to Dover, HMS ran 1-4. So to me, that's a coin flip. Whoever got the track position was able to win it. But then you get to Pocono 2021. He's running P2. Larson blows the tire in the last corner. He steals it. Now, you got to be in 2nd place, and I give you points for that. But that's really not the same as going out and beating a guy. You go to Martinsville, where he wins my first race ever in person. I see him go out and he beats Denny. That's really impressive until he gets loose and dumps the 11. Now, yeah, it was an accident, but to me, that's an example of you being out over your skis in the clutch moments. He won at Vegas. Carl mentioned the next gen win. You know, he was 4 seconds back to Kyle Busch and got a green, white checkered caution, was able to come back and win. And then lastly, the Chicago one, cycles to the front thanks to pit strategy, and he has to get darkness to make it be a timed race. The race was cut off by 20 laps short. Reddick was closing on him. So the idea that race went anything close to the estimated time, there's no chance he wins. So not impressive to me.
All right. Carl, your time starts now.
Yeah, I mean, so again, you know, I think that you know, you're asking a question and that you can give multiple answers on. You know, has he in the past performed in clutch moments or done the big drive when they needed to be? Yeah, you know, okay, that's debatable. But one thing to keep in mind, you know, especially when we do keep doing these constant comparisons to his teammates, is that, I mean, he came, I mean, from a totally different system than everybody else came through, right? Like, he came from RB Racing. He was at Tommy Baldwin forever, at BK Racing, abysmal programs. And so you have to think that his mindset that he's crafted over this time frame has been to be less of a risk taker and more of betting on a sure thing. I think post-injury, there have been moments where the aggression has certainly been there. And I think, you know, Chicago is one of those moments where, you know, I think that he absolutely can make big plays now. I think he's getting more into that role and learning more from his teammates because, I mean, like I said, holding off Cam Waters is no big deal. Like I said, and that's what he did. Like I said, at a darkened, you know, and a wet Chicago street course, a track a lot of drivers have struggled at. You know, guys like Bell and Denny Hamlin have had problems there. So, I mean, you know, to answer the question, I guess, using the officially on paper, no. I mean, he can't perform in those big moments, but theoretically, I mean, all the signs are there. So I would say that he hasn't, but he can.
All right. Art, do you have a rebuttal?
No.
No? All right. Next question is Carl will answer first, and this one is injury concerns and DNF rate. So if you don't know, DNF is do not finish. So Bowman missed part of the 2023 season due to a back injury, and he has had 3 DNFs in 2024. Should concerns about his durability and ability to avoid race-ending incidents impact negotiations for a new deal? So Carl, your time starts now.
Yeah, just real quick. I said Cam Waters. I meant Joey Hand. So yeah, we touched on this on last night's episode, and I think that the injuries certainly have set him back, and maybe even a bit of regression there. Race car drivers have a shelf life. I think you get banged up enough, and maybe you lose the edge and things of that nature. But I think that we've made improvements to this car because these injuries came from this car that we have now. And, I think that there has been enough conversation about Alex's future that I think he's going to take things a bit seriously and not put himself in a situation outside of the car to have those situations happen like Chase Elliott did. I don't think he's this beaten and battered and bruised guy. I don't think we're anywhere near the conversation of he can't medically do it for much longer, X, Y, and Z. I can understand the appeal of a young, hungry guy that maybe hasn't had the injuries. Maybe he's not scared, the days of thunder syndrome, so to speak. I could see that, but I don't think it's nowhere near serious enough to affect any sort of future conversations around that. I think any future conversations are entirely speculative on performance, not on his health or anything like that. So I think from that regard, he's okay. He's perfectly fine.
All right. Art, your time starts now.
So this is the question I least look forward to because I hate this. I hate to have to talk about this man like this. Like,
right.
It's hard because concussions are so serious. And, one of the hardest clips I've ever seen in an in-car was when he got that concussion and sitting on the pit box or in the pit stall after that. But they are so serious. And I hate to say it, but medically it's shown that if you get one, you are more likely to have additional ones in the future. And I hope he doesn't. I sincerely hope that's the last thing I want for anyone to get hurt. But HMS had to have seen firsthand what happened when Dale Jr. had his concussions, right? Like, something that you think might be a really benign accident turns into something that has, these huge consequences. So then the reason this whole debate came up, because it seemed like there was a lot of pushback on even the idea of Alex possibly being replaced. And, not only the concussions, but the back injury, I had a back injury that wasn't nearly a quarter as bad as his in college. And I've never been right since then. So like imagining him having to strap into a car and be able to perform at the same level as he did before, even with all the training and therapy and tools that I'm sure he has, that's hard. That's really hard. And so I do think there is an idea of, younger potential guys out there that you could see that have a higher ceiling than him. And I think the question has to be able to at least be on the table, right? A lot of our pushback we got was that it was as if he was beyond reproach. So with all the wear and tear, I think you just actually have to consider it.
All right. Carl, any rebuttals?
None.
All right. Next one is last question.
Ooh, we went on through that.
We went through that pretty quickly. So if you guys have been thinking about your questions, get ready because we definitely have time to take some listener questions. So get ready while we're doing this last one. All right, so this one, Art will answer first, and this is about team fit and marketability. So with Alex Bowman's role in a high-profile team and the prestige of driving the number 48 car, how much does Bowman's marketability and fan appeal contribute to his re-signing potential, especially considering his recent victories and association with Hendrick Motorsports? So Art, your time begins now.
Yeah, so I think the one question that I would have is just what major sponsorship dollars has Alex brought? He came into a situation where Ally was waiting for him, And, they can say that they love him, and I'm sure they do. I'm not saying that's fake, but if Alex was to leave, does anyone think Ally would go with him? Let's be honest, Ally is a rebranded GMAC, and they're never going to leave HMS. They've been there before, and they'll be there long after. So I think in terms of team fit personality, yeah, he absolutely does. He's not going to rock the boat. He's not going to be the guy getting on, fights on pit road like a Ross Chastain or be very vocal like a Denny Hamlin. Like, yeah, he will not do that. But in terms of marketability, I mean, I look at the car. I don't see a lot of different names coming in there. And maybe that's a positive. You have Ally on there for that many races, but I don't see any world where they're hurting for sponsorship or they're in a huge different place in terms of sponsorship if he leaves. I feel like if you have a Raja, a Sam Mayer, a Haley come in, they'll put an Ally patch on their chest and let him roll out there.
All right. No, why won't this let me pause it? No. Oh my goodness. Okay, cool. All right. And Carl, your time begins now. Well, come on, man. Now.
Got it. There you go. Yeah, so I mean, I touched on this earlier, and even just to offer a small rebuttal, Hendrick's entire sponsorship model is not really dependent upon driver. There's not, outside of Napa, outside of Chase Elliott, in Liberty University, a lot of the sponsorships that they have at that team are all B2B, business to business deals. So do I think that Alex Bowman, a driver with 9 wins to his career, could bring a sponsor to the monster that is Hendrick Motorsports? Absolutely not. But then who can, right? Like, they can handle that. If any organization can handle that, they can. Do I think that if the situation were, if he was somewhere else, would he bring partner sponsor dollars in? Absolutely. He's an incredibly marketable guy. I think that I don't think Ally will be as good of a fit to whoever comes after him as he is. And so you can do with that what you will. And I think, he's a fan favorite. That combination just works very well. Especially with all the things that Ally does for animals and for, like I said, their initiatives in June. I think that he is marketable enough that Ally would say when it's time to resign, we love what he does with our brand. We want to keep him in the car.
All right. So you guys both have rebuttals left. So
Can I use one? I can use one.
Sure. Go for it. All right, so your time for this rebuttal is now.
So I would just say, I think Carl kind of makes my argument for me. If this is the one place where there are B2B deals, and if we've seen where the current sponsorship model is so important, we see guys getting whole charters based on the ability to have sponsorships. If this is the one place where it doesn't matter, then you're even less beholden to him. If you've got dollars coming in and you can make it work, why not get somebody with the higher ceiling? Or maybe you can find some stopgap guy. Well, you wait for Raj to get up to that point. He's got a great relationship.
All right. Well, Jarrett never made his sandwich. So I think there you go.
I told you that in confidence. I told you that in confidence.
That's what you get.
Goodness gracious. All right.
You never ate your sandwich. I'm disappointed in you.
This has been more intriguing than I thought it would be. I'm really glad that we put time and effort into this. So I'm going to start fielding questions. Since I'm the one in the chat, looks like Jamal has a question first. Panel, get ready. So Jamal's question is: with this disqualification, do you think he will still earn the most points in the playoffs, or will he fade like he normally does?
Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, that's fine. It's really too early to tell, right? We have a round of 8 to go.
Wait, hang on. I'm sorry. Are we timing this one too? I just completely fell off the game with this one.
Let's just keep it short. We can just do short answers.
Okay. Sorry.
So I think it's far too early to make that determination. We've got 3 races left, 4 races left total. There's just a penalty like that, man. It can have 2 effects, right? It can really set the team on the back step, and just kind of throw off their whole mojo. As we know, it was a self-inflicted wound, which I'm embarrassed by because I argued it was the opposite. I mean, or it can make them hungry to go out and do things, do whatever they got to do. So, honestly, if I'm a betting man, I don't think that he'll get the most points. I think that whoever's going to get the most points of the non-playoff drivers is going to be in the round of 8. Probably somebody like I'd probably like Denny Hamlin, I think. I don't know that he makes round of 4. We'll see. Byron, maybe, yeah. I mean, not, yeah. So, no, I don't think that he will. He'll get very close, second or third most. I don't think that he will win, though, get the most points in the playoffs outside of the top 4.
So, yeah, I feel like there's 2 factors. One, I think just the human element, right? So the emotional letdown, right? They worked so hard to gain stage points throughout these playoffs. And I called him a stage point merchant last night on our regular episode, but they worked so hard to get those stage points and do just enough to get by. Because, they have had a good playoffs. Like, I'm not going to act like this guy's trash. He's not by any stretch. They've had a really good playoffs in terms of getting points. I think they kind of went the mindset we have to this is the equivalent of like running the ball, right? In terms of just getting points and staying alive. So to do all that work and then make it, checkered flag, we're into the next round, and then to be told, because of a mistake you made, I just think it's going to let out so much air for that team, like it's got to be so deflating. And I do hate it for him. Like I would not wish that on any driver or fandom. Well, maybe there's some drivers maybe, but I would not wish that on him. But then the other factor I think that we didn't touch on just now is that the other 3 guys are in the playoffs. So if you're the shop, all your eggs have to be in those baskets now. Like the 48 team, like you are the redheaded stepchild now because these guys got to go fight for a championship. And it's just unfortunate that he's the only one now that isn't making it to the next round, but he's not going to get the best engine. He's not going to get the best chassis, right? Like he's not going to get the best anything. And that's just because of the nature of the playoffs. So I think both of those factors they'll be a letdown. Like there just has to be, right? These are human beings. These aren't robots. These aren't machines. Like the emotions in it. And like I said, that lack of resources, that lack of focus from the shop, I think that'll be what does it. What else, Jared?
I was going to ask Carl, you have a rebuttal to that?
No, I mean, I think the last part of that is what he hit the nail on the head, right? As far as the human factor, they've got 3 other cars. Hendrick has an unfortunate, very real possibility of almost locking out the final 4, right? And so I think that all their efforts are going to be on that. I think Rick Hendrick, if I'm a car owner, I think that's Jeff Gordon. I think that's what my team meetings are going to be about. So, there's no telling. There's one thing about this car, man, is that nobody knows exactly like how much of a difference is shop preparation actually making versus what drivers are doing with SMT data. So I don't know, how to phrase that, but yeah, I think that Art hits the nail on the head. I don't think that Alex is going to have the same level of information and support as the 9, the 5, and the 24. So.
Our next audience question comes from our co-host Bonte. He asks, do y'all think Haley is going to do better than Bowman, or will he be a seat warmer for Raja?
Yeah, I can take the lead on this one too. Haley is who is named, and we never really got to say this, but I just want to put this out there too, right? It is not uncommon for Hendrick Motorsports to keep their next major sign at arm's length, right? They did it with Bowman. They kind of had him over at HMS a bit. They kind of had him, not HMS, JRM a bit. They had him over at Ganassi's deal a little bit, in the Xfinity side of things. They did it with Casey Kane on both ends of his career, right? Before he came to HMS, after he left. They've done it before, and unfortunately, I mean, like I said, there is some connection there, right, with the Spire connection with Haley and everything. I don't know why we got grilled for pointing that out. I think really you can't answer that question until we get to this part next year, right? What does Haley do? If that really is their plan, right, so then we can say, okay, well, Hendrick is probably going to give the 7 car some more data going into next year and help that program out. So if Haley is in a pseudo Hendrick car next year, as I would think he might be, then at this point in time next year, we can answer that question. Up until the end, there's just no telling. There's no guarantee even Raj gets a seat. To be honest with you, I think it's all dependent upon how Connor Zilic does next year. I think if he likes to roll it up in Xfinity, then it's blown wide open. Or Carson Kvapil for that matter. So, there's just Monte. There's just no way that I feel like I can confidently answer that question right now. Either way.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, my assumption this whole time has been that Alex will be back next year, right? Like, unless
100%
or something. Like, I don't think he's going at the end of
he'll be there to the end of this contract. I can't see why he would. Yeah.
So, to me, I think if next year, if they're within a couple spots, like let's say Haley is within 5 spots of Bowman, because Bowman's so like looking at his career averages, which I did a lot, prepping for this, like he's been for the most part like a 13th to 16th, 17th kind of guy, right? Kind of that middle half of the pack, like that middle third of the pack. If Haley's out here Inspire, even with HMS support, and if he's like 17th to 21st, like if he's in the ballpark, if he's in the zip code, if he's a couple houses down the street, I think that's when you have to have those big questions, because even if you're a HMS affiliate, again, you're not getting the A1 stuff, right? Like we all know, like they're keeping the very best in-house. So if he's getting better equipment and performing just a hair under you, then we might have to have some serious discussions about making a switch, because again, there is something for a guy with a higher ceiling. And if you've got 3 seats that are essentially locked up for the foreseeable future, then why not take a risk and go for a high risk, high reward kind of driver, right? So that's how I look at it. And maybe they like the idea of having, Alex be steady, but I just get the feeling that there's not satisfaction when it comes to that car, because with the way the cars are now, especially, they're more closer to being spec cars. There's less variance between them. I don't think the 48 is that far off now as it was when it was, 2006 and 40, when like the 5 was completely out to lunch. So, I think the other thing I was going to say is, you talked about Raj. Like, I really wonder, this is now complete speculation, if either the 5 or the 9 at some point just get bored, because they just both seem so bored sometimes. Like, like their personalities just seem like they're here to get a check and they love winning, but outside of that, they could not care less. And so if you told me one day Chase Elliott was like, yeah, this was great, but I'm cool, I'm gonna go fly planes for a while, and a seat opens up, like that could happen. Like I could totally see that, and then you've got a younger guy like a Raj. That's where I was getting at. Like, because I just feel like they want that pipeline of young talent in. Now I don't think that's going to happen, but if you told me Larson said, I want to go race dirt now forever, like I've won multiple championships, I'm bored, and I'm still young, I want to go race with my kids, like, and not have that full season grind, I wouldn't be shocked by that.
So okay, so real quick, I misspoke. I forgot that Zilch signed through Trackhouse for that whole deal. It is what it is.
Never interrupt your enemy while they're making a mistake.
It is what it is, man. I'm
playing.
I forgot. But yeah, so Jamal asked, do we think that Alex has reached the ceiling? And then somebody got on the pod account, they hacked it, and there was also a question there that somebody posed that we got already answered. So we can answer Jamal's question. Art, you can go first, because I already know what this is going to be. So
the question is, has he hit a ceiling?
Yeah, has he hit a ceiling? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, yes. And to be fair, in the big picture of auto racing, it's a good ceiling. Like, to me, like, this is not a bad place to be. Like, you don't suck, Alex Bowman. Like,
that's not to you, by the
driver. Way. I know.
Yeah,
you're a very good driver. But to me, like, for a guy who had a blip on the radar in 2021 with those 4 wins, am I suddenly going to think he's going to be a steady 3-win guy a year moving forward? Like, you're already on the best team. Like, if he was coming up and moving up to somewhere to a higher level, like if he was coming from I don't know, front row or even like RFK, which has been a step behind, right? And was moving to HMS, I could say like, okay, yeah, like he's probably got another notch that he can go. But I just think at this point, like he kind of is what he is. And that is a very competent, good cup level race car driver. I don't hate you, Alex Bowman. I don't want one person to tell me I hate you. But I just don't think he's going to be better than this, honestly. I think what he did this year was the epitome of what his career would be like if he stays HMS. Get a win, make it beyond a couple rounds in the playoffs, but that's it. What are y'all laughing at?
Nothing, man.
Tell me, what is it?
I'm over here looking at the chat, man. It is.
That's it.
Oh man,
place over there in these Twitter chat spaces, man.
Yeah, Jamal's doing his best Ultimate 23 Dragon impression right now.
Oh no! Say no more.
So yeah, before I answer this, let me ask you this, Arthur. Do you think if Alex is at any other team, do you think that he would perform better, worse, the same? If we go to Phoenix and they're like he's leaving HMS and he's going to A, Penske, B, Gibbs, C, 2311, or D, I don't know, man, Trackhouse or RFK, right? Whatever the other top team would be, you would think. What Yeah, go ahead.
No, I thought about this afternoon, and I was really trying to come up with this exact question. I don't know. I feel like his personality like fits in really well with HMS. I could see him going to Penske and being about as good. And I think if he went to Penske, he'd be better than Cindric, to be clear. Also, I think he'd be better than Cindric. But I think it would be an improvement over the current two's performance, but not a huge difference. I just feel like he would get additional attention that he wouldn't get at HMS.
Right. Okay. So that you hit on something that I thought about today, which is I really get a Martin Truex Jr. vibe from Alex Bowman, which is there are some guys that really need an opportunity, and this goes into has he reached the ceiling. And I don't know that we'll ever know the answer to this, because I think there are some guys that they need to be by themselves or be the lead guy at a program, the only guy capable of winning at a program, and really help develop it and shape it and form it their way. I talk all the time about Gibbs is a bad place for rookies to go, right? And HMS is too, because you go to a place like that and it's like the mold is already there. Either you fit or you don't, man. You know what I mean? It's like the check bag templates at the airport. Either it's going to fit or it's not. So if in the wildest of worlds, what I could see happening is, if we get to the, I guess his contract is through the end of 26, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we get to the end of 26, we get to 27, and Haley and Bowen have done a ride swap. I could see Bowman, if Hendrick keeps up their support, winning in that car. I think that, not that he's not a team player, but I think that you had an organization like HMS, it's storied, all these guys are champions in the making.
A lot of big fish
it's a lot of big
pond.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like the things you need, the one-on-one time you need, all the stuff you need, you may not get there. I think that, like I said, had Furniture Road never happened, Martin Truex Jr. would have been a flash in the pan, right? Post MWR, we wouldn't have really talked about him, right? So I think the same thing applies here. So I hope that if his future is not in the 48, it's at a competitive program that he can make his own and be the face of, maybe even FRM, who knows? And, because they don't really have anybody, over there that I think would be a distinct leader of that deal. And maybe even the 21 car, that'd be a good place for him, with Penske support. So I don't know, but yeah. So to answer my question, I don't think he's hit a ceiling. I do think that there are things that need to happen in his career for him to excel. I don't know that they can happen where he's at right now. I don't know that he fits the mold of somebody that can be a championship winning driver at an organization where your teammates are winning 5, 6, 7, 8 races a year, not because of talent, just because of he's not getting what he needs. right?
Yeah, no, and last thing I'll say is I absolutely agree with you. I feel like when there was the chatter about the idea of him and Zayn switching the 7 and the 48, like that honestly felt like not a win necessarily for him, but that's not a really bad place to be. Like
No,
again, like
absolutely
I
not.
agree with you. I feel like the 7, the 2, I don't like him at Gibbs. Maybe
No.
RFK, you know, if
I can
Brad
see
was
that. Yeah,
retiring, I could see
yeah, I can see
that.
that.
Like,
Yeah,
but yeah, I do think he fits in better on a smaller team. And
yeah.
to be fair though, in his defense, like if HMS calls, you take the call. Like you
Oh
take
yeah,
the ride.
100%.
A
Yeah,
million
100%.
percent.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that's all I got.
All right. Jared, bring us home.
I was gonna since Jared's moderating, so I was gonna have her go to
What am I supposed to
lead
do?
you to closing remarks.
Oh,
so
sorry.
can,
I'm still thinking about the sandwich that you haven't made. All right. So, did we use all our rebuttals?
I did.
I'm sure I probably did in opening up questions and things like that. Yeah.
All right. So. Cajun turkey, best lunch meat, by the way. That sounds amazing. I agree. All right. I'm apparently going to go make a sandwich too. But until then, let's bring up the timer again. And let's do 45 seconds again for closing remarks. Art, did you go first for opening?
I went second.
You went second?
Mm-hmm.
All right. You'll go first for your closing remarks then.
All right.
Ready? Go.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate my moderator. I appreciate my my debate opponent. There's a lot of fun. You know, I think Alex belongs, like I said, ad nauseum here tonight. He belongs in the Cup Series, just not in that car. Give somebody with a bit more talent, a bit of a higher ceiling in there, and let's see what happens. But I really enjoy this. I appreciate it. This was much cleaner than I expected. I thought there's going to be a lot more mud throwing by my opponent, and he shocked me tonight, so I appreciate that.
All right. Carl, your closing remarks starting now.
I'm honestly, the timer hasn't started, Jer. Oh no, it has. Anyway, I'm honestly a little insulted that he thinks that I would throw mud on him. I could insult him if I wanted to, and believe me, there's a lot there to insult. But I think my final thoughts on it are this: Alex Bowman deserves to be in the Cup Series. He's earned his bones. He's been in some very bad situations and came out, on the other side unscathed. I think you're never going to have a fourth engine car as competitive as the other three. I think for what that car does in the status quo, he's doing a great job. They can only go up from here. I think he deserves to keep the 48.
Bonte, I should let that play just because you keep talking about it long.
It's like he doesn't know how to turn down his volume. Also, there's 114 people that are watching this. Thank y'all so much for coming. This is a really cool idea. I'd love to do that again. This is awesome. So y'all didn't participate, but hey, it is what it is. So it actually worked out better because this would run on for like 2 hours if you did. So, but I will say this real quick: vote with your hearts as who spoke well enough for you and your interests. Don't base it all on facts. Numbers don't tell the whole story, as I say.
This man just told you not to listen to facts. If that doesn't tell you who to not vote for, I don't know what. He just told you to do your own research.
Again, it's subjective, right? So
numbers aren't subjective, though.
Well, they
straight
are.
up not how that works.
If it was your favorite driver, it would be subjective. So
Well, listen,
men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
All right.
Well, we'll have the poll up, and y'all can vote.
We're gonna put the poll up after this. Apparently, everybody thinks that you got washed, Carl. According to the chat. We'll put the poll up to let everybody vote on who they believe won. You can watch the replay on this. We're gonna put this up on the YouTube page. Of course, like we mentioned before, this is going to be packaged into an episode for you to listen to. Going out on all of our platforms later on this week. Anybody else have anything else for a lot of people that have eyes on us right now?
Yeah, I mean, Jamal is the one that's saying I got body, but he's an IMSA fan, and for those guys, you got to dangle a key ring with a bunch of keys on it, because unless there's a bunch of different shapes. Unless it's a bunch of different shapes and sizes and colors, they don't want to watch
I
it.
hope
whatever.
the listeners see this is how he talks about you when you're behind closed doors.
Well, he came into this with an agenda. I did not. Okay, so
you have to earn his vote.
Okay, well, I wasn't gonna. I wasn't. He's deplorable. I wasn't gonna own it anyway. Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to our first live episode of Victory Lane Vibes. We appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe if you already haven't. And yeah, we catch y'all on the flippity flip. Stop it, Carl. Let's
all right, we gotta go.
Yeah, we'll see y'all in these streets.
I ain't damn thing.